Hey guys, Domenic Neshi here. Today we have another Wealthi podcast with Sam Assaad.
Happy to be back.
I've got to say that after the last podcast that we did, we actually had quite a lot of people asking more from you. So it wasn't my choice. They wanted you, so now you're here.
I think the Melbourne versus Sydney is a contentious subject. So I feel like people related and they like the bit of
candor.
Yeah. So it's a good response.
Well, after that, you did an article that got featured in the news.com. It was on realestate.com.
Yeah.
It got circulated everywhere, and you did get quite a bit of publicity from that. And a number of our clients got a lot of value out of it.
It's good. I think it's again, it's a subject that people have opinions about, and I got featured in this forum, and people were disagreeing and agreeing. So it means that there's some truth to what was said.
And by the way, for all of you that are watching, if I look weird with my neck, I heard it this morning, so I look like a bit of a weirdo turning my whole body. It's because of that. Nonetheless, so we, after that trip, you, me, and the team, we went to Melbourne to go to visit your old town, to visit Preston and Northcote, and we went up to Reservoir, and then we travelled quite a lot of Melbourne. We covered some distance.
We did.
And we got to see a lot of good quality stock, not that much bad stuff, but a lot of good stuff. And I wanted to get your perceptions of it all. How was that received and experienced?
Look, I think we covered a lot of ground. Melbourne's pretty spread out compared to dense Sydney, so we drove a lot for the day. But it was good to see. There's always developments happening in Melbourne, so it was good to see that there was new construction and to visit our sites for the ones that we consider for our clients. It's good to see them off the ground as well, and good to see firsthand of what's really happening in the area. I'm from Melbourne, and it's good that you guys saw as well the local amenity and the activity. So.
It was good being there with you because, I've been to Melbourne a number of times, but having your impressions it was valuable because as we're driving through these areas, Sam's pointing out, that was when I bought my first house, my second house. And, then I did this here and family's there. And it's good to get context about how an area changes over time.
For sure.
High Street, I talk about it often to clients. It's a very visceral experience. As you're going through, you can feel the difference of the shops, of the people, of the culture. As you go north, it becomes, for want of a better word, less cool.
Yeah, it's true.
But you can feel that general trajectory is going that way. That the culture is spreading outward from the city, and it's something that I want you to understand, the audience out there, because it's less of a statistical thing that's going to be pushing your property prices and more of a qualitative thing. You know what I mean? How can I articulate that another way?
No, I think you are right. Just going back to High Street. High Street, I grew up in an area called Northcote, and Northcote is off High Street. So I saw High Street transform over the years in the mid-2000s. And you can just see it spreading to Thornbury. Welcome to Thornbury, to the Melburnians, they would know. And then spreading to Preston, and now it's spreading to, Reservoir. And it's funny enough, it's reaching up to Epping, where there's things happening down in High Street. And it's expanding. So I think it just goes back to, what we tell our clients, that that ripple effect that we keep mentioning is true, because I think that's the beauty about the area. It's Melbourne being so centralised that the ripple is just quite linear the way it's spreading, and that means your investment strategies is I would say is pretty linear as well. So it's an easy way to invest, as opposed to having many other sub-cities and hopefully working wanting something out of that. So
it's a lot more simplistic. What's Welcome to Thornbury?
Welcome to Thornbury is an old, I think, car wash or car park where every, I think, Friday or Saturdays, all these food trucks, I think there's a pub there now there, so all these food trucks go there and becomes a big thing on nights where there's lights and it's a bit of a cool hangout at the moment.
And what was that area like?
Well,
7 years ago or 10 years ago.
Well, Thornbury, Northcote 7-8 years ago was dry cleaners and really old cafes and it's just really service based,
Suburban feel.
Very suburban feel, and now it's become the golden word.
Gentrified.
Yeah. So, and it's become, anyone in their mid-20s, it's that they want to hang out there. So it's changing. The trend's changed completely.
You can feel it. I as Sam was saying, it is becoming cooler in these areas as the culture and the community changes. It becomes desirable. There's something drawing you to Thornbury. And as you said, this new nightly or weekly event is a reason why people now want to be there.
I agree.
Another interesting thing that I saw on our adventures around Melbourne, well, one thing was we said the area and your dad's impression was when we talked about like Wyndham Vale. And
he whistled. He's like, ooh.
Oh, wow. See, I found that interesting because, in Sydney, we have gotten used to, in many, many contexts, in many different community groups, to travel 50 minutes or 60, 70 kilometers out. And that's perfectly acceptable to sit on a train or a bus for an hour. And that's just become a way of life to say that, hey, I'm looking at buying a place that's going to be 45, 50, 60 kilometers away from the CBD. It's fine.
Yeah.
The population growth has determined that people need to travel out further in order to get good value and to go buy a block of land and to build a house and to live that more quiet suburban life with all the amenity that a family would want. In Melbourne, it's a bit different because if you're traveling 35 kilometers out of the CBD, someone old is going to whistle. They're going to go, wow, that's far.
Well, it's funny because I have family that have lived out that way, and it was always, growing up in the inner suburbs, it always seemed like a trek. But from a value perspective, in Melbourne, you don't have to go out that far to find that kind of value. Whereas Sydney is 45, 50 kilometres to get something of some kind of standard with more than 2 bedrooms is the norm. So hence why the whistle. but it comes down to value of money and proximity to the CBD, and being 20, 30 kilometres out from Melbourne isn't necessarily far, but what I'm saying is you can get inner and probably get, something of value.
Well, it's just to a Melbourne person, travelling 30 kilometres out of the CBD feels scary to them. But in Sydney, when we're looking at those kind of distances, it's not that far.
Yeah.
And you're able to go buy a less than $600,000 house, 4-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars, and, less than 400 square metre block.
Yeah.
It's a lot of really, really good value. So for me, that Melbourne trip was a massive eye-opener. I got to see some of the stock completed, some of the stuff that, like, just the finishes, the way the design looks. And it's very different when you look at a plan or a floor plan. And I've looked at thousands, and you've looked at thousands, and we often redesign them and talk to developers to fix them up. But it's very different looking at a floor plan and then going in and walking around it and experiencing it.
For sure.
One thing that I noticed that keeps on now popping up, and when I was there experiencing it, it was completely fine, and I'm really now used to that type of design. But what's it called? The contemporary living design, where you've got like a...
Reverse living.
Reverse living. Please talk about reverse living, because some of our Sydney clients are scared of it.
So... Look, it's a very orthodox way of traditional floor plans where bedrooms are upstairs, main living zones are downstairs. But in some in some developments or in newer developments, architects or designers have found more efficient ways of optimizing spaces. So sometimes that might translate to having opposites, or what we call reverse living, whereby bedrooms are downstairs and the main living zones are upstairs. Sydney clients just can't get their heads around it. They just find it very unusual. That's fine. I understand. Sometimes it's really hard to, break away of a general sense of what normal is. But at the end of the day, there's a contemporary way. It's a contemporary moving forward way of living. And that from an investment point of view, it does not make a difference to your return. Returns are based upon, bedrooms. So whether your bedroom's upstairs or downstairs, it doesn't really make a difference.
How many?
It's how many, exactly right. I had a recent client that I showed a really gorgeous townhouse out in Reservoir, and my client liked the townhouse, liked the finishes, liked the figures, which was what it's all about, but just didn't understand why anybody would want their bedrooms downstairs. So she turned it away. I can't help but laugh, but at the same time, I don't think I can knock sense into. I can't reason with that sometimes, because it's not about what we think, about what works. It's about the product and about the return of the product itself. So if there's something unusual, there's a triangle bedroom, okay, we get it. That is unusual, but it doesn't make a difference in my viewpoint. And why, I just had a thought actually, why would you want to buy something like everyone else? If that's the way you want to think about it, then get a unique product. When you do eventually want to resell or hold on to it, your product will probably be unique compared to the ones that are traditionally being built and designed. True?
I want to add, I agree. I want to add to that. Two things. When you're looking at an investment, when you're looking at a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom apartment, what you're right, absolutely comes down to how many bedrooms will determine the price and then the rent. Then the other thing you want to consider is, where are these bedrooms located? The most ideal circumstance is those 2 bedrooms are away from one another. Because if you've got 2 bedrooms side by side, they've got a wall, they share a wall. I don't know if any of you out there have had roommates, but some roommates snore and listen to loud music, and there's all sorts of other reasons why you don't want to share a wall. So what we suggest is, when you're going to buy a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, you want the bedrooms to be separate. In this instance, the one that Sam's talking about, I actually like the floor plan because you've got a bedroom downstairs and a bedroom upstairs. So you've got 2 clearly defined zones, 2 separate bathrooms, 2 separate areas for you to sort of entertain and do your own thing. And to a person that's looking to rent it out, you've got multiple people that will look to rent. Like you and I could rent there.
Yeah.
I could have downstairs with Charlotte. You could live upstairs.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have a young couple that would rent it, then have a home office.
It's preferred.
It's desirable.
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah.
The other thing that's really interesting is a lot of the new contemporary design. So I worked before I left Third Eye, a development company. They had these beautiful townhouses in Piedmont, and they've got bedrooms on different floors. You've got a bedroom downstairs.
Yeah.
You've got a bedroom on the middle level, 2 bedrooms on the middle level, and then you had another master plan floor. And the reason why they elevate the living area up high is because they want the living area to capture as much natural light as it can.
Ventilation, it's really important to have that, have these kind of amenities in your property. Not because it'll give you a major return, but it's in fact preferable that way, that your zones are all separated and your main living zones are receiving a lot more of a natural light and less shadow and more ventilation. So if the balcony, would you rather a balcony downstairs with the bedroom, or would you rather a balcony upstairs with the living zones?
Where you spend most of your time.
Exactly. So I think that was just something that I'm finding a little bit funny, I have to say, with some Sydney clients. Some astute investors will tell me, well, I don't care, and they'll invest because it's not about what they do and don't like. It's about what it's meant to do, and the why and the reason why you've bought the property to begin with.
I get it though. Like sometimes when someone's buying, you just have a feeling. You're like, I don't really understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I had a recent client that said to me, "Oh, that island is just not big enough. I'm a cook," and I said to her, "But you're not going to live there." She's like, "But I just know I need more space." I was just like, we'll find more space.
We will go and find more space for you. And see, like, I understand when a client has these personal preferences that color their criteria, because wanting space to cook is good. You want to have space to cook.
For sure.
You know, wanting light and ventilation, these are all important. All of these different things will help color your decision when picking a good investment, because generally speaking, if you like it, someone else is going to like it. However, you don't want to take that too far.
For sure.
Especially when you're working within certain budgetary constraints. Because what happens is if you've got a list of 10 things, on that list as well, you've got to have budget, right? And at a certain point, your price will determine how many of those things you can start ticking off that list.
That's correct.
If I've got $2 million, you can have a lot of different things.
What were the prices of those Alexandria townhouses that you were talking about?
The Piedmont ones, they were $4 million.
Crazy.
$4 million.
Crazy. So $4 million, you'd think that architects...
SJB Design. Oh, I think it was SJB Design.
Well, they're one of the leading architects in Australia. You'd think that there would be forward thinking with their designs, and they won't be designing anything that's going to detract people from living and buying these properties. So when a client says to me, "Oh, it's a bit weird," I have to say to you that this isn't your field. Just leave it to the experts and trust that you're buying a decent product.
I'm glad that was so politically done. I know on the inside you're screaming.
And I'm like...
Okay, so that was really good. Melbourne experience, seeing the properties was great fun. The other thing that I'm finding particularly interesting is these new conversations that we're having with a lot of first-time buyers and first-time investors. The reason why I bring that up is we're literally being inundated with client inquiry. And we are having the same conversation over and over and over again, a conversation that I enjoy. And it's about us articulating the different options as best as we can. So I wanted to have it here with Sam. So that we can then send some of you back here to listen to it. So for all of you Sydney first home buyers or first time investors, you have a number of different choices available to you. The first choice is, do you go and buy your own home? So go buy a property, you go live in it, and then just stay in there for as long as you can, and then eventually you'll trade up and do whatever. We're not really talking to you because we want you to be buying investments. So that's fine. Now, if you decided that, hey, I'm going to go buy an investment, I want to go capitalize on all the government grants, I want to go and get the best return that I can go and get, live in it for the 6 months, get all the different incentives, and then move out, fantastic. The choice then becomes, what can you go and buy for certainly less than 600,000, or at the very maximum kind of that $750,000 price point. In Sydney, for $600,000, there's not a hell of a lot. You can get some really nice units. You can get some really nice apartments in the western suburbs of Sydney. You can also go and get some nice terraces. You're going 30, 40 kilometres out to get a good quality terrace, but you may be spending sort of $650,000, so you'll get some of those grants, stamp duty concessions. But then where Sam and I have been talking a lot is for that same purchaser, there's an opportunity for you to spend the same amount and look at other states. Now, Brisbane is certainly an opportunity. Canberra is certainly an opportunity. But at the moment, we're seeing a tremendous amount of value in Melbourne because the long-term story speaks volumes. Population growth, outstripping Sydney, all of that kind of stuff. What do you want to say to some of those clients, Sam? People that are now thinking about buying their first home and the scary thought about buying an investment or an own home in Melbourne?
So I think these guys that want to have a chat with us already know that they should be doing something. And they know that currently the market is going to surge with or without you being involved. So if you're having a chat with us, what I want to say is there's a reason why you're there, and there's a really good reason as to why you want to do this. I ask that you guys take our advice, take our lead, and more importantly, be a little bit brave in taking that leap. Because if it was easy, everybody would be investing in property. But with property, investing in property, there comes some sacrifice, with your life. Some savings that need to go, there's things along the lines of that. But also, it's a scary decision. It's a big commitment. It's debt, et cetera, et cetera. But know that in a market that's simmering as it is, with the expected, forecast of these percentages that leading economists are throwing at us.
10, 20, 30% growth.
And it's just an example. If you buy something at 600,000, and they say that's gonna, it's gonna grow by 10%. 10% of 600,000 is
60K.
So let's just be conservative and let's half that. What's half that?
$30,000.
Well, you've made 30 grand in your first year of investing, and that's being very conservative. Where can you make $30,000? Putting some savings down elsewhere. You really can't. So trust the process. Trust that you're getting advice from people that kind of know what they're talking about, and it's a journey. And I feel as though that it takes hours of time spent and getting comfortable around the decision. We understand that. We have multiple investments, and we remember our investments. We've made some good ones and bad ones, and I guess you just learn from that process. But just know that with or without you investing, there's going to be money be made this year, and I think you should jump on board.
I agree. The worst decisions that I've made are some of the investments I didn't buy, which is annoying, but you can't harp on those. It's probably made me a bit more aggressive than not now.
For sure.
To those clients that you're looking to spend 600,000, 650, 500,000, these are small. It's a large sum of money. It feels like it is everything to you, right? That's terrifying. I remember the first time I spent $300,000. It was scary. It's very, very scary. And putting in your life savings to making this investment, taking that leap of faith, trusting people around you, it is terrifying. So we can't just, I get it. I'm with you. I've been there before. I live it every single day with many, many first-time buyers. There's a great deal of relief that comes after that, though.
It does.
After you've made that first investment, it feels fantastic.
Yeah.
Securing your tenant, getting everything working, collecting your rent, you'll quickly realize I was scared about nothing. It's about ticking as many of those criteria off, as many of those boxes, and then just getting into the market.
And it's a learning process. So you're gonna, as much as we can educate our clients, they'll learn things along the way, and you'll pull your socks up even further in the second and the third purchase, because now what this all entails. And I feel that's where everybody really gets a bit nervous, which is understandably so. I had a client just before the weekend.
I feel like this is therapy for us, by the way.
It's good because we pull our hair. We've got a receding hairline for nothing.
Sorry to interrupt. You were saying about your client on the weekend.
So this client of mine really, really wanted to do it. He said to me, let me have one last think about it. He was on the verge of proceeding, which is great. I get a call from him Monday and he said, look, I'm going to say no. And I said, why? He goes, oh, because my dad said A, B, C, D. I said, look, that's completely fine. They're valid points. Can I ask, has your dad invested before? No. Oh, okay. So are we taking advice from people that haven't invested? Because there's a reason why your dad didn't invest. Because number one, let's not get into those reasons actually.
No.
It could be personal. But there's a reason why your dad didn't invest and didn't take that leap. Do you want to be like that person? And it's not personal and it's not rude in any way, but it's a reflection of you know, trusting, you know, a bit of the experts and having a bit of instincts, and more importantly is literally taking the lead and taking that leap, you know, and start growing a portfolio for yourself, because your dad doesn't have one and you don't want to be like your dad.
Well, you know, there's a client out there that I'm talking to as well. We spoke to her and her mum, and she's such a brave young woman, 23, I think 24, saved a nice size deposit and ready to make this leap of faith, but then all of a sudden got really scared. I could see that with her, many people started getting in her ears. Yeah. I had one person saying this, another person saying that, another person saying that, mum, auntie, uncle, boyfriend, cousin. Yeah. And it becomes a big mess because these are all people that you love and trust, and you need to be able to sometimes remove all the noise. Just remember that this is your decision. I remember buying my first property in Lakemba, and when I was buying it, I had so many people teasing me, making fun of the fact that I was buying this property and was saying that it's a bad decision, that the area is this, that, or the other, or they didn't like the people, or they didn't like that, and it was facing the wrong direction. And you've got to white out some of the noise, because they're not making the decision, you are, and you have to live with the regret, and you have to live with your decisions. The worst thing is taking somebody else's advice. You don't really respect it, but you made a decision based out of fear, and then you fuck it up. Because if you make that mistake, it's based on what someone else has said, someone else's nonsense. If you make a decision and then you make the mistake, at least you can own that decision and you can learn from your mistakes. So I'm just going to say, draw some clarity, be a bit calmer, white out all the noise, take advice from people that you respect and from people that have done what you're trying to achieve.
Bingo.
Like, I'll take advice from you because you've got a portfolio, you develop, you've done some really cool, significant things in real estate. But I wouldn't take advice about real estate from
Eddie the expert.
Eddie the expert, thank you. I want to bring it back to what we were originally talking about, and that is for Melbourne, or people that are first home buyers. As a Sydney first home buyer, this is going to be a bit audacious what I'm about to say. But I some people that know me will know that I say some stupid things sometimes. Charlotte's probably cringing as she's watching / listening to this. Now, as a first-time investor, as a first home buyer, if you're young enough in your career, if you're adventurous enough in your life, I would be taking this as an opportunity, as a potential adventure. Go and buy in a Melbourne suburb that you actually will like to live in, and move there for 6 months. Move there for 12 months. I know it's a bit crazy and it's not as simple as I'm just saying it, but it can be that simple.
For sure.
And if you do that, you're going to get $10,000, you're going to get $15,000 from the government, you're not going to pay any stamp duty. So that's $25,000 in cash plus the stamp duty costs that you're saving, which is another $10,000, $20,000.
Easily in Victoria, yeah. That's true. So there's about maybe a 45 to 50K in savings to maybe just live into something for 6 months. I mean, you pay that to move overseas and then, try to establish yourself, in different countries. So
I didn't think about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to go move into a beautiful city.
Well, yeah, I know it's a big move to change up life, but just know that if you are from Sydney, considering that, you're an hour flight from home. So
you're not that far away.
So really, it's an opportunity. But I personally, Dom, don't like to push clients to go live there because it's a big ask.
It's a bit extreme.
But if you want to save a bit of money and get a bit of money and capitalize and utilize those grants, do it. You know, working from home now is common, is preferred. Work from Melbourne.
And look, if you're not as extreme as me and going to go on an adventure of a lifetime, a once in a lifetime experience to live in a city that you're being paid to move into, then do as Sam's saying. Maybe just go buy and invest over there. There's a very small window of opportunity now where the government is giving you incentives to buy in Victoria.
Right. That's right. So it ends at the end of financial year, so end of June. 50% off of stamp duty for purchases was under $1 million. I think it's capped. So. Yeah. So 50% off stamp duty, and
for new property.
Just to let you know, Victoria is actually one of the highest stamp duty. I think in the country it's at 5.5%, and I think everybody's relatively around 4%. So it's a considerable amount of savings if you're wanting to buy. And I don't think it'll come back. That will come back for a while. It was off the COVID depression that they had last year, so they're just trying to really stimulate, the market again and get people, out there and interested in buying. So, and I think it's great that they're doing that, because we're seeing clients are actually turning to invest into Melbourne than Sydney because of that, which is a reason why people, actually invest, because they want to take advantage, because something might replace that with another incentive, but I don't think it'll be that good.
And what do you think about all the recent banks, the different economists saying, Westpac said something like 20% price growth over the next 24 months. Do you agree with all of these economists and banks? And
I just think, in general, if there's a common story that's being told, whether it's completely, literally right, I think yes, then, that there is going to be a surge in the market. I mean, no one has a crystal ball, but when leading economists and leading banks are all saying the same narrative, then yes, it's going to happen, and that's going to lead to a sense of urgency of people buying, and sense of urgency leads to demand, and demand means appreciation of property prices all over. So, yeah.
I think it's a bit different. Like, consensus isn't always true, because there was a minute there where during COVID people were predicting 20-30% price drops. Now, the difference between all the economists saying that and this is this. Now, them predicting a 15 to 30% price drop is extraordinary, and it involves you and me selling our properties at a 30% discount, and every single investor and homeowner that I spoke to was not selling their property for 30% less, because they didn't need to sell their properties. Now, with all the economists talking about 10-20% price growth, it's a little bit different, because it becomes, in some instances, a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've seen it before. When you've got the same message being spread over and over and over again, and then you got the news reporters, and then you've got podcasts like us spreading this news, it does create this fear of missing out.
For sure.
It does create this urgency, and then that's when you see the results, like on the weekend, properties that are going $500,000 over reserve.
Crazy.
50 people turning up to an auction.
Crazy. What year was that? When was it? When was when it was really, was it 2017 or 2016 where it was extremely stupidly hot?
Yeah, 2016,
well,
15, 14, all those.
We're seeing those trends, starting up all over again. And
it's simmering. I like you're saying simmering.
Because it's going to get stupid hot, and people that wanted to invest now have to save up an extra whatever grand just to make up for the deposit of the appreciation. So
yeah, if you're looking at, if properties are going up, some of these properties, Tom Panos had a property go 500,000 above reserve. That's an extra 50K deposit.
that you come up with. Yeah.
Or if it's a 20% deposit you need, it's a $100,000 deposit. You're not going to save that unless you're earning massive money.
Yeah. And that's why I'm actually pushing for off-the-plan purchases at the moment, because I like the whole very low commitment with off-the-plan. You're buying at today's market prices. So whatever happens the next 12 months, whether it's 10%, 20%, 5, 15, you're going to be making money without a full commitment. And what I mean by full commitment is that you haven't gone, taken a mortgage, et cetera, et cetera. So look into off the plan, because there's some really good advantages in a market as such as the one that we are in today.
Yeah, look, off the plan has its advantages and disadvantages.
For sure.
It's a investment tool like any other. I look at it as a property option or a property future.
Yeah.
Now, people buy futures in grain, in gold, in all sorts of commodities, and they buy futures if they believe that the price is going to go up or down, and they can make a bid on what the price is going to do. Now, if we genuinely believe that property prices are going to go up, it makes sense to go and secure a contract at today's value, because in the future it's going to be worth more.
Great.
Especially if you don't have to pay, as you said, the full commitment.
Well, if these articles are coming out with predictions, it could be your safest, low-risk kind of investment strategy that you could go for. It's kind of like a guarantee, but not almost a guarantee, that you're going to see some growth.
It's not a guarantee. Investments are not a guarantee.
Well, what I'm saying is that a bonus of something in a market like such, So
it's not every day you see many people. You see such strong consensus.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. The narrative is very similar.
Yeah, and look, even if you take all the fluff away, buying a good quality piece of real estate really doesn't set you too far astray.
I agree.
Okay, Sam and I could waffle forever. We're going to jump off the podcast. It was good fun talking to you, Sam.
Likewise, Dom.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you out there. We do hear, we capture all your responses. So if you have any questions, you want to see more of Sam, let us know and he'll jump back on the podcast. And we hope to hear from you all soon.